Thank you, Maria.
We'll see you soon. Congressman Devin Nunes joining me right now is former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. He is a Fox News contributor and author of the new book, Trump's America, which is out on Tuesday. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker. It's always a pleasure to see you.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Your thoughts on this Google search? You search
two things.
California Republicans.
First of all, I think that Google has an obligation to have some system of fixing things like this and being able to do it within a couple of hours. And I do think they run a risk that they're going to start getting hearings if in fact, this is used as an engine of left-wing propaganda. People are going to demand, I think, real reform. Let me also say, and Devin Nunes has been very courageous, but let me also say about California, I think John Cox is going to be in the runoff for governor. I think that makes an enormous difference in California, both because the truth is Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom's not running that well. Californians increasingly, I think 65% of them now believe the cost of living is too high. The Democrats passed a huge gas tax increase, and I think that John Cox has a real shot at changing politics in California.
Well, what about the midterm? So that's your take on Tuesday's primary. But, you know, there's been a lot of conversation that there's going to be this blue wave, that the Democrats are going to continue to get more seats. And you heard Nancy Pelosi say, I will be the next speaker, and when I am the next speaker, I will reform taxes. In other words, raise taxes and do away with the president's tax cut plan.
Well, and her deputy said flatly he would raise taxes. It reminded me of Walter Mondale in 1984 saying, I promise you I will raise your taxes.
That's not a very good selling line right before the midterm.
Well, and I think for everybody in America who thinks that the cost of living is too low, the Democrats are a great party for them because they will raise taxes, as they have in California with this huge gas tax increase. I actually believe we are closer to a red wave than a blue wave. Now, if you went back to December, frankly, I was concerned. The huge generic gap. We had not yet passed the tax cuts. Things didn't feel right. People were upset that they'd had a year and things hadn't been accomplished. But starting with passing the tax cuts, with what President Trump has done consistently on conservative judges, on deregulation, on trade negotiations, what he's done with North Korea, I think people now have a sense that we're moving in the right direction. And as a result, for example, in the Senate, I can't imagine, I don't know of anybody who's a serious student who believes the Democrats have any hope of winning the Senate. Well, in fact, we're likely to gain seats. I think that Menendez in New Jersey is in trouble because of his scandals. I think that we're very likely to pick up Florida because Governor Scott's a very strong candidate. Then you add in the other Trump states, starting with West Virginia, North Dakota, Indiana, Missouri. We're likely to end up being somewhere between +2 and +6 in the Senate. Well, how can you talk about a blue wave if we're gaining votes? I think what happened yesterday in Minnesota, where the Democrats went crazy and all of their establishment candidates were defeated in the state convention by hard left people. I think Tim Pawlenty's going to come back and be governor again. We may actually gain governor seats this year. Again, how can you talk about it? The House becomes the issue, and there I think it's very simple. If we go out and communicate the economic growth issue and communicate we want to make your life better, that means more jobs, more take-home pay, lowest African-American unemployment in history. I think we have a chance to do surprisingly well in the House, maybe become the third time in a century that a presidential party actually gains seats in an off-year election. So I would predict today we're closer to a red wave than a blue wave in terms of the fall campaign.
I want to ask you about North Korea. Let's take a break because it seems now this summit between the president and Kim Jong-un is on. It is now 9 days away. Republican Speaker Newt Gingrich, Fox News contributor. Let me ask you, Newt, we have this summit now in place. June 12th, the president is expected to meet with Kim Jong-un. I'm trying to understand the motivation on Kim Jong-un's part. Why would he go to the table?
Well,
is he really going to denuclearize?
Let me say, first of all, until they actually walk in the room that day, don't assume it'll happen. I could imagine at breakfast that morning the whole thing blowing up. I mean, this is what's happened is the president, through tremendous pressure, and Mnuchin at Treasury has done a great job of really helping tighten down on the sanctions. And the result is that the North Korean economy is in real trouble, to such a degree that I think that Kim Jong-un reached a conclusion that he was in danger of having the whole regime implode economically. On the other hand, his father and his grandfather and he have spent 3 generations, enormous privation, huge slave labor camps, tremendous amount of pain, building nuclear weapons and missiles. So the question becomes for him, can I cut a deal which enables me to survive? Or if I sell out everything we've been trying to do I get deposed by all these people who have spent their lifetime doing it? And if I don't do it, do I end up with my economy collapsing totally?
So he's afraid.
So I think he's coming in out of fear. The South Koreans have played a huge role in this because they really were frightened that Trump was prepared to go to war. And war would be a disaster for South Korea because so much of North Korea's artillery is within reach of Seoul, artillery and missiles. So the question becomes, for Trump, can he find, and he's got very smart people around him. I mean, Secretary of State Pompeo, Secretary of Defense Mattis, Chief of Staff Kelly, National Security Advisor Bolton. These are all smart guys.
Right.
Can they find a formula to get the first 2 or 3 real steps? You know, you let in the American inspectors, you get 3 McDonald's. You let in the American inspectors and you denuclearize the first 4 bombs and you get 2 golf courses.
It's a process.
You know, and I think you have to expect, and as the president himself said, I think yesterday, it's not going to be one magic meeting and everything's solved.
Right.
But I think the world is grateful that we are talking rather than getting ready to go to war. And I think that the president wants it to work if he possibly can.
Yep. All right. We'll be watching that. It's great to see you, Newt.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.